My evolution has everything to do where I'm sitting today, the knowledge I've gained, everything has to do with what I've learned through the UiPath ecosystem. So to give you a kind of a glimpse on what I have done till date, I have handled about 25 plus end-to-end implementation projects, RPA projects, which and some of the things that I've done are mainframe automations, SAP automations. There are other third-party applications which come from, which we have automated, wherein highly complex UI automation was involved, XML automation is involved. I've exclusively worked in departments like finance and procurement over a period of time, which makes the job also very interesting because no two projects are the same. And there's always something new to learn. So far, and it is actually about a couple of months ago when that UiPath Business Analyst certification came out. I think it was announced in the month of April last year that I signed up for it and got certified in the month of August. So I did take my time to get certified, even with my experience. And that is where I am today in my journey in RPA. So,
lovely, yeah. Namratha, to hear from where you started, where you are. It's an incredible journey. I think that summarizes the confidence for everyone as well. Thanks for just doing that so that people know that with whom they are talking to, just to get the glimpse of it. So with that, I would like to just congratulate for the journey, what you have just done, and thank all the participants. All is yours, and go ahead, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
So I have been talking to Revati, and Revati has been giving me a little some insights into what is expected of me today in today's session. So what I did is I just put my thoughts together into a PPT, and hopefully I can clarify some of the doubts on what this job really looks like on a day-to-day basis, what is expected of you, and a typical use case and how I would handle it on a typical day, right? So that's what I would like to present, and then probably talk about how to take that information and use it to kind of how do I put it? How do you use all this information, put it together, and finally go and clear that certification, right? That's what we are here for today. So a few pointers on how to clear the certification, what can you learn, what are some tips and tricks which helped me when I was trying to clear the certification a couple of months ago. And we can also touch upon some career path progressions and what you can specialize in. And that's what I had in mind. So please feel free to interrupt me if something is not clear. You can put your messages in the chat box, or I will take a pause in between as well and ask you questions, or if you have anything to point out, feel free to do the same. Yeah. So what I'm going to start with is tell you all typically what is it that I do as an RPA business analyst. And in my career, I have played the roles. I have emerged from the role of a junior RPA business analyst, gone on to a senior BA's role, where I have also played the role of a process analyst, where I've helped in building the automation pipeline as well, right? So what is it that I've done during these phases of my career is what I'll just give you a short glimpse so that you understand what you are and what is in store for you all as well in this role. Yeah. So just a moment, let me just share my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So what is the RPA business analyst role, right? What are we exactly trying to do? It is like, a typical BA's role, but the niche skill set is RPA. That's it. So what a typical BA does is to set up elicitation workshops, understand who your stakeholders are, talk to your stakeholders, typically understand what the requirement is, ask for a walkthrough of the project or the process that we are about to automate, understand the pain points, right? So every BA starts with setting up elicitation workshops where we are doing a kickoff of the project, explaining what RPA is, and then talking to the uh, business stakeholders, right? Whoever needs their process to be automated is your business stakeholder. And from that point on, we are going to uh, lead the following activities that comes with that process, right? So we talk to the respective stakeholders, we understand what the process is. So generally what I do is um, I tell them to give me a walkthrough of the process. I say, let's take one step at a time. Give me a walkthrough of the process. Just, it's a passive observation session where I will just be seeing what is it that you're doing and walk me through the process. So it's generally a business user or an SME who would be doing that walkthrough for me. And what I typically do is request them to record that particular session on their screen. It's a screen recorder software, something that I use so that I can see what exactly is it that they're doing. So once we have that, then we get into once generally these passive observation sessions can go from 10 to 15 minutes to a couple of days, depending on how complex your process is. Sometimes some processes, the requirement gathering sessions can go for months or for 1 or 2 months also, depending on how complex the process is. But that is generally um, very rarely will you come across such extremely complex processes coming your way when you start your journey. That is for a senior BA's role. But just to give you a context of what we are trying to do here, right? So I generally insist on recording, screen recording the process walkthroughs that are given to me so I can go back and refer to them later on. So once we are doing these process recordings and process walkthroughs are going on, sometimes if it's too big a process, we break it down and we start talking about the pain points that the business user is experiencing at that point in time, right? And along with the pain points, we start asking our questions as a BA. Why do you want this process to be automated? What do you expect to achieve out of this automation? What is your objective? And based on which my assessment, analysis, and how I define the scope and the requirements begins from that particular stage. So how do I do it? I listen to I go back and take a look at the recordings and I start mapping the process, the current process, or whatever is it that the business user is, doing at the moment. And once we understand the pain points and the different aspects of the process, then we go and do the mapping of the to be process. What is that ideal state that they're expecting? And in this stage, help is often taken from a solution architect or a tech lead if there are technical aspects of the process that needs to be understood as well. And together with this information, I would start building the process definition document. Now, while this is being done, at the same time, as a business analyst, we are going to identify the potential risks when we try to automate the process, right? The current as is process might not be fit for automation as is. So we will have to make changes to those steps sometimes. There might be exception scenarios, error scenarios that are coming up, which needs to be dealt with. So again, the business user is the best person to tell us how they tackle those problems, right? So when this is happening, the risk assessment side is also going on in parallel, where I'm making my Excel sheets or whatever pointers to understand what are the risks associated, how do we mitigate it, what is the possible solution that can be provided, based on which the to be process designing would get refined with these discussions, right? And along with it, we also do a detailed documentation of all the exceptional and error scenarios in the PDDs. This thereby helps the increase the bot accuracy and efficiency. So by the time we do all these 4 5 steps, now we have clearly also defined the scope of the project, and we need consensus from the stakeholders that this is what we are going to automate. And with that, we mean what is the entry point of the automation and the exit point of the automation, and what will be done within those. What are the steps that from the as is process that will be automated, and we get a sign off from the stakeholders. Post which the PDD is prepared, send off a sign off, and the stakeholders provide a sign off. We go and take the PDD to the technical team. right? Your IT guys, the developers, the solution architect, QA, whoever is involved, who will be building the bot next. So training start from here on. I would start my training sessions or training workshops for the development team and talk to them, train them on what the process is. And if they have feedback, they want changes to be done, then that is again taken back to the stakeholders where we sit with them, iron out those differences. Whatever needs to be done needs to be taken care of. The PDD will go through a small revision if required, and the final PDD is then sent out for sign offs. And during this entire phase, as a business analyst, you are actually collaborating with multiple stakeholders, the IT team. Sometimes RPA support will also come into the picture if you need some clarity on certain aspects like access to the applications that are getting, automated and stuff like that. So overall, it is if I had to describe this role, you are a liaison between multiple teams, business stakeholders, the IT development team, the RPA support team, sometimes even the RPA infrastructure team, to get some insights on some complex processes which might have infra dependencies also. So your role essentially is that of a liaison, and who's enabling the bot development by taking care of so many aspects of it. So I'm sure you were taken through the process of writing the PDD in your during the training sessions, during the BA series. So I'm not going to go into details of it, but this is essentially what I do as an RPA business analyst when a process is brought to me for assessment, analysis, and then we go and create the PDD for the technical team and the business team. Yeah. So I hope this is okay. Any questions here? Hello. I think I'll take that for a yes and move on
Yes,
to the
yes,
next
we'll move on.
next slide. Yeah. So how would you typically work with, right? So during your entire RPA project life cycle, who are the people that you generally work with? So your typical business stakeholder. Now, please remember, this is business process automation. This is a business process that is being currently worked on by multiple people, where that business process has an owner. So the process owners are generally people from the leadership team. You can think directors, senior managers, that level, right? You will have SMEs who are, he could be a business SME, a business analyst also can be an SME, or, they are also senior people in that team. And then you have the actual business users or your end users, the guys, the people who are actually doing the work on the ground. So these are the three groups of people that you will be working with. And if your business process has, implications, the work done by this has an impact on multiple departments, you will also be dealing with people from those departments as well. They will also be brought in, and they will also be part of your business stakeholder group, right? So from the development team, this is a typical team structure. You would ideally be working with business stakeholders and a development team. Development team can consist of a scrum master or a project manager. You are also considered as part of the team, development team. Then you have a solution architect or a tech lead. You will have developers and sometimes even a dedicated QA team if the projects are really, really complex, right? So development team is the one who you be providing training to and support during the entire phase of development of the bot. And also the other teams that you would be working on a need only basis. Generally, we don't have to talk to them all the time. So that would be the RPS support team or the maintenance team, the guys we hand over the bot to once the bot has been developed. And in rare circumstances, sometimes connecting with the leadership teams and RPA Center of Excellence might also be required. If we need to understand certain capabilities of what is possible with the bot or not, that information generally comes from the Center of Excellence directly. But these are rare circumstances, but you will have scenarios where you will have to approach the support team and the leadership teams as well. But generally, you will be working by the first two groups that I mentioned here. I think, any questions here? Can we move? Okay, I think I'll take that as a yes and move forward. So
please keep it interactive and you can use the chat box. Yeah. Thanks, Henry.
So coming back to the question of what does a day in the life of an RPA business analyst really look like, right? So a BA, if you look at the typical project life cycle of a bot, a BA is involved in all phases of the bot cycle, RPA life cycle, but we are more involved in particular aspects of that life cycle. Say, for example, process discovery is the part where the BA is fully loaded. You are running the show in that particular phase. Design and development is where you would be training your team, the IT development team, where you're giving them process walkthroughs, you're explaining the nuances of the process, the possible risk associated with the process, or what kind of access issues are required. For access issues might come up, access is required, what are the infrastructure requirements. You are talking functional requirements, non-functional requirements, capacity, performance, all the information that the IT team needs. That information is provided during the training phase and in design and development. Again, depending on the complexity of the bot, the duration can range from a couple of hours in a day. The training may be over in a single day, or it might run into 1 or 2 to 3 weeks also. So depending on how complex the bot is and how complex the process that you're about to automate is, right? So these are the two phases where the BA is generally fully loaded. You will be assigned to these projects completely or partially, whatever is the center of excellence's mode of working with the business analyst role. So the two busiest phases for the BA are these two phases. Then comes the testing phase. SIT is when the bot has been developed and it goes into system integration testing, which is generally done by developers. And UAT is where now the BA comes in. So, like I said, a traditional business analyst role has all these things that come as part of our job, right? We go with the same thing. So, here, your test case suite and the test scenarios are generally prepared by by the business analyst, which is then sent to the IT team and also to the business stakeholders, where they have to go through whatever you're sending across. They generally approve it. If they want test cases to be added, they think the test case scenarios are not mapped correctly, feedback will come, according to which you revisit them, review, correct it, send it back for approvals, and they come back. And once UAT start, the UAT phase is generally owned by the BA. You will be in charge of setting up the triage calls, verifying the UAT results, and the bot, um, whatever the UAT results are signed off by the business analyst and the business stakeholders. So this is the third phase where the BA is going to be involved. Yeah. So go live again is about paperwork related to governance. You are not expected to be here full time. All you do is collect those documents. It's just a couple of hours job here, but those sign-offs are something that you need to provide so that it can be, the go live procedures, whatever is expected from the governance team goes smoothly. So as a BA, we also have artifacts that we have to submit. That is the PDD sign-offs from the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, the UAT results, the UAT sign-off, test results, test cases, test suites. All these are artifacts of the business analyst that also needs to be submitted for go live. Yeah. Post which we decide on a date when the bot is going to go live, and uh, and the bot goes live and it is put in production. So here your role is more or less to make sure that the bot is working as expected, all the requirements have been met, and uh, the hypercare phase can range from 1 week to some really complex bots I've seen hypercare phase go up to 8 weeks also. So um, during which the bot is actually monitored in the production environment to make sure it is not messing up anything anywhere. It is working as expected. And once all the business stakeholders are completely satisfied, they provide us a sign off, which is called a hypercare sign off. From center of excellence to center of excellence, again, the terminologies used would change. So keep that in mind. I'm just giving you a generalized version of how things would be done. So those sign-offs are received from the process owner and the SMEs and the business users, post which the development team would initiate the bot handover to the RPM maintenance or support team. So from then on, the BA is no longer involved in training the support team or the end user unless and until you are specifically told to do that. Yeah. A lot of times I do go ahead and train the end user so that they know how to work with the bot, which is a lot of times end users are not technical users. They might not understand IT. So it's a little extra effort that I put in from my end to close the loop, because they should not struggle later on once the bot has gone onto the support teams. But the training of the support team is generally done by the developers. Wherever I've worked, this is what I've seen. But you go with what the center of excellence dictates to you. Yeah. So the extra effort in hypercare that I generally put in is something like this, where I do create those, if possible, create the training documents and train, help the end user understand how to work with the bot. So this is a typical day in the life of an RPA business analyst, phase wise, in whatever phases that project would be in. So any questions here? Or I hope this helps.
There was one question in the chat box by Jaswant.
Mm-hmm.
So, how to understand the complexity of RPA?
Okay, so good question. So I will cover that in the next slide. So what I'm going to do is, in the next slide, what I'm planning to do is to actually give you a small use case and tell you what is it I'm going to look at, based on which I will make my assumptions on what the complexity of the process would really be like, and based on which the project manager or the solution architect would come up with their estimates on the time required to build the bot. Yeah. So during the process discovery phase, so in the entire RPA lifecycle, the most important phase where the business analyst is completely involved is the process discovery phase, right? So I just thought I should take you through what a typical discovery session looks like and what am I looking at a business analyst, right? So it's one of the typical use cases that comes, and this is one of the most common use cases for RPA, is anything related to reconciliation, typical reconciliation processes that come from finance. So for some of you all who do not know what reconciliation in finance looks like, it is something like you have two data sets, or sets of records sitting in um, two different applications, and a financial analyst would essentially go download it, reconcile the data, and look for differences and see if there will be standards that it needs to match. If there are any deviations from that particular standard set for that reconciliation, they need to report it, or whatever action needs to be taken. So this is a typical thing that is done in the finance and treasury departments in any company, where there are hundreds and hundreds of reconciliations that are done on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, yearly basis, right? And it is one of our most favorite use cases to automate. So so typically, what does that mean for us, right? So somebody who's working in IT, who looks at this process, would wonder why we're trying to automate this, because the data is already sitting in a SAP system from which we are downloading the data, and we are putting it in an Excel sheet, and this person is using Excel formulas and things to sort of make sense of that data, and they're doing their analysis and the work is happening. So why bring a bot in here, right? So I thought I should just give you a picture of how this process really runs. So typically a reconciliation process might involve logging into, say, a SAP application or multiple SAP applications, and there is a person, an analyst from finance, who's going to sit and do this, where he would log in, go to a certain transaction code. T codes are something that you would hear any SAP application. This concept called transaction codes is something that you will always hear. It's like a table into which they log in. They are provided access to access that particular table from which the required data set is downloaded. All right. And the analyst would just download that into a CSV file or an Excel file, and then he might go into a second transaction code, download another data set, and again save it into an Excel file, and then they combine the Excel file into one master sheet from which you will see multiple Excel formulas, macros, all kinds of things going on. And it is a very, very formula heavy, macro heavy Excel file that this analyst is working with, right? Now, most of the times what happens is a financial analyst is working with multiple uh, such reconciliation processes in a month, and sitting and staring at an Excel sheet with numbers involved and multiple formulas. Anything changes, even a dot changes, the entire thing will go for a toss. And that is why these are, super mundane, very repetitive, error-prone processes, perfect for RPA, right? So you imagine a situation where the Excel sheet might download in under 30 seconds, and there are Excel sheets that I've seen which takes about an hour also to download. Sometimes if something goes wrong, they have to stop and start downloading again. Such a difficult, irritating thing to do, right? So what we do with bots is to ease the pain and perform these steps. So we can use a bot to do this action in the backend, while the analyst is free and doesn't have to go through the mundane aspect of downloading it, putting it into an Excel sheet, combining those files together, using the Excel formulas, applying it. We can take care of all those things by the bot and give it to the analyst in a format that they are expecting. So that is what we mean by a manual or a digital process getting automated, right? So what is it that I am doing as an RPA business analyst now? So when the passive observation session is going on, where the analyst is taking me through the steps where they're downloading the files, I am looking at it from a very different perspective, wherein now what I'm seeing is, okay, this automation starts with this person logging into SAP. So we have SAP automation involved, wherein UI automation is also an aspect where the bot needs to see how and where to click to log in, where to type in the transaction code, where to download, what is the screen that comes up, and which screens it needs to navigate, how many screens to navigate, where to go and download the file from, right? Now, so that is app automation, UI automation. Now, the third aspect I'm looking at is the file needs to be downloaded either in an Excel file format or a CSV format. Now, if you are using UiPath, you need to also understand whether the file can be downloaded in an SX file format or an XLS format. Because generally, UiPath supports these two formats. CSV is also supported, but the preferred formats are XLSX and XLS, right? Some versions of SAP will not allow you to download it in .xlsx format. So that is something that you need to look out for when that step is happening. So Excel automation is always involved. So there are three types that we have already seen. Now, the third aspect that I'm looking at is this individual is logging into SAP. So what kind of access permissions does that user need to go and access that data? Now, when we talk data, the next question that comes is, what is the classification of that data? Is it so data classification? What that means in an enterprise is data can be for the public, it is for internal use, it can be confidential, above confidential, and there is also a very rare category, FIO, for your eyes only kind of category data will also be there. I've personally very rarely come across the fifth one, but the four categories are what you will see. So when you see this data, then the next question you have to definitely ask is this confidential data? If that is the case, user access permissions will also have to be scrutinized by you as a business analyst. So access issues are something that I always start the conversation right in the beginning, because these are the biggest delays in starting the project, right? What is the user's access level? Because that is the same access level the bot requires. And then there comes the third aspect, file download itself. Okay, we have XLSX format, we've sorted all these. Now what happens during file download? What if the file is too huge, right? So we have to, like I said, there are files that will get downloaded in like 30 seconds, and there are reconciliation cases where I've seen where it takes more than an hour. So in that case, if we have a SAP screen open and the bot is downloading, it will time out in the middle. So how do we take care of it? Is there a better way of downloading it from the backend? So these are the kind of things when a passive observational session is going on. This is where I am analyzing it from an RPA perspective, RPA business analyst perspective. And I'm making note of it based on which my risk assessments would start. How do we mitigate it is the questions that I'm writing down, because I need to go back to the business team to understand how they tackle these problems, make a note of that, and if required, take the help of a solution architect or a tech lead, come and take a look at how or whether we can see the UI elements on the screen. The download is time is a problem. How do we solve it as a problem that I would need to involve a solution architect? So these are the kind of decisions and things that I'm looking at as a business analyst when a process walkthrough is going on and I am being told about the pain points. I'm being advised on what the pain points is. So how do I know all this information? The only way to do it is by understanding your tool, that is UiPath, and what are its capabilities, right? What can UiPath, when we bring a tool like UiPath into the picture, how do I handle SAP automation? What are its capabilities? What is not possible to do with it? When I'm talking Excel automation, what kind of activities are available in the UiPath suite? Activity suite, which enables us to do certain operations on the Excel sheet, what will not be possible. Access permissions are a different story altogether. We have to involve other teams. Sometimes you have to talk to RPA support. Sometimes you have to talk to the application support teams to understand how to receive access to that application sometimes. So various aspects of this project start coming out, and that is what I'm making note of. And with the information being refined, so will your process definition document. So this is just a snapshot of what I do in a day when I see the first passive observation of a process starts. So I hope this gives you a glimpse into what we would actually be doing. And this is just SAP that I've told you. You would have multiple applications coming your way. You could have mainframe, processes which are done in mainframes, third-party applications, very data-heavy, legacy applications sometimes. So you need to think from a perspective of UI automation, the number of applications involved, how many screens are involved, what is the data security policy for the data involved in that process, what kind of access levels are we looking for the bot. These are some of the questions that you need to have in your mind when you sit and start your assessments for the process and while you're writing your process definition document. So I hope this information gives you some information on how to get started and what your job will look like on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Any questions?
They were very appreciative of your example that you had shown. I think that is what was, how they could map the UI path with the business analyst. And now I think that gives a picture. I think, Jaswin, is this answering your question, Jaswin? If you can unmute and talk, the complexity part of it. Jaswin is there? Yeah. Okay. He's given thumbs up. Awesome. Awesome. Great.
So,
Yeah.
Jaswin, to add to your question, now since you have seen this in the UiPath business analyst course on the academy, they give you a sample process complexity Excel sheet, right? So take a look at it and compare to what I've told you today, right? This will make sense. That is when it will start making sense. And what is it that they are talking in terms of process complexity? So the more screens, the more UI automation, the more complex the Excel automation aspects are, the more your complexity of the process. And depending, this is a very simple one I've taken out. If you bring in PDFs into the picture, that is when the complexity increases more and more. So IDP, when we say intelligent document processing, PDF automation, OCRs, computer vision, your bots are getting complicated from then on. So this is how you assess the process and understand how your complexity level will increase, right? And to add to this point, one more thing I want to tell you is there is also the capability of the center of excellence. When a center of excellence is highly evolved, a lot of these complexity levels will go down because we already know how to solve that problem. Yeah. So when you look at the process assessment sheets that coming with the course, related back to this, that assessment sheet will start making sense to you. So I hope that helps. Yeah. So I think this works.
Yes, Namratha. We can go.
So just a moment. So I think with that, I am almost at the end of what I wanted to talk to you all about what we do in different phases and what is a typical day in the life of a business analyst, right? So if there are no questions related to what we do as part of our job, then I think I can jump on to the next part where we will talk about the UiPath certification. Whatever you need to know. Is that okay? Yeah. So a common thing that I always hear, people do reach out to me on LinkedIn also offline to understand why sometimes the UiPath Academy course for the business analyst is not enough to cover the entire UiPath ecosystem, right? So when you look at the certification exam, what it does is it is also going to judge you on your capability as a business analyst. So business analysis aspect, process complexity, process assessment, process improvement, how you're going to do it, that aspect is also checked along with your knowledge of UiPath's product suite. So that is where the confusion starts for a lot of people as to why is the practice test itself so difficult sometimes, because we don't know all the products in the UiPath ecosystem. So my my sincere advice is, if you're planning to take the certification, take some time and go through the product suite of UiPath ecosystem. The logic behind it is that you're going to be certified as an automation professional automation business analyst in UiPath tool, right? So if you do not know your tool, then you're not a professional automation business analyst. So that is the straight away the answer to that question. So what has UiPath has a tool got to offer in the automation space is what you need to understand. So UiPath is a great platform where it is not just about automating using bots. You can it is exclusively also in the field of artificial intelligence in a very, very heavy way. So it has tools like document understanding to handle intelligent document processing. It has an AI center which helps you to access a lot of ML skill sets with which AI capabilities can be provided to a bot, or AI as such can be utilized, right? ML skill sets by itself can be utilized. We will come across so many use cases wherein uh, language translations are involved. It's a typical case with intelligent document processing where a document comes to you which is written in a different language and it needs to be translated into English, right? And you have like thousands and thousands, sometimes 100,000 documents and all would come to you. In these kind of scenarios, you would be using a combination of DU with the AI center to, analyze the document, extract the information, convert it using an ML skill set. NLP is what we are talking, natural language processing capabilities, which can be brought in to do your translations, and then you can use a bot to take that data and do whatever is the next step that is expected. So it's the entire length and breadth. So when we talk automation now, it's not just bots, simple bots. We are talking multiple things that is combined with a bot to enable that automation journey, right? We're pulling data from multiple data sources, we're bringing it together, we're doing transformation, we're doing, we're extracting data from multiple sources, we are transforming it using multiple other technologies available to us, and we're loading it back to some other system, right? So it's the entire bells and whistles that is being provided to you by the platform, and that is why, as a business analyst, you should have an overview of what UiPath platform offers you. So there are about 20 plus tools that are there in the UiPath ecosystem. And what the syllabus for the certification actually tells you is to have an overview of everything. They're not telling you go and finish the course, individual course and everything, right? So in discovery, you have process mining, you have task mining, you have task capture. So go and learn the overview of all these tools and understand what you can do with those tools. Now you have for IDP, you have document understanding. You don't have to go and finish the entire course. If you have time, please go ahead and learn it. That's a really good skill set to have. But if if there is lack of time, you still need to understand what can you do with GU, with the DU platform, to enable intelligent document processing. What can you do with the AI center? What is its capabilities, right? Same with communications mining. What can you do with it at the moment? Communications mining is a really interesting tool and a much needed one, where I've seen so many use cases where it has to be used. Hopefully, we will see it being used more often in the times to come. You need to understand what its capabilities are. Can it do NLP? Um, those are the kind of information that you need. There is UiPath apps. Where can it be used, right? There are things like data services that is involved. So whatever I can remember is what I'm telling you, but it's 20 plus products there. So according to the syllabus, you need to spend some time to go through each and every one of these product suites, understand their overview, and which is absolutely required for the test. Because what happens in my experience when I took the test, at least one or two questions have come from every single topic mentioned in that syllabus, and with a specialized focus on process discovery tools, such as task mining, task capture, and process mining. And since there is a very big focus from the UiPath community towards AI, DU and AI Center is also a place where a lot of questions have come from. Yeah. So for people who do not have experience in using any of these tools, I would tell you, do a SWOT analysis on yourself to understand what your strengths are, what is it that you know, and what is it that you need to work on. For me, when I was doing the certification, my Achilles heel was process mining and licensing. So um, I tried my level best to collect as much information as possible from the UiPath community, LinkedIn profiles, LinkedIn write-ups, whatever, along with whatever information is on UiPath Academy to bridge in my gaps. But my focus was actually on the other aspects where I have worked on, like SAP automation, selectors, your AI center, DU platform. I have not exclusively worked on it, but I do have a rough idea about it. So all I did was go back and do the overview sessions, and there are multiple YouTube videos that are available from industry experts that you can refer to, where they explained it in a very, very concise and precise fashion, right? Just the overview sessions are more than enough. Recently there was one that was done for DU by if I'm not wrong, it was Mukesh Lahiru, we know and all, who had done it, which was a very, very informative session. And I found the first session where Mukesh had introduced the concept of DU be very helpful. So it will help you um, understand what that platform is and make sense of the overview in the UiPath Academy as well. So to put it in a nutshell, the majority of the questions that I remember came from process discovery, especially automation hub. And there is something called as the process complexity matrix, right? The automation quadrant, how we decide on what is the priority of the projects, or how the bot's complexity is defined. Please do pay attention to those kind of topics there. If you cannot understand process mining, then uh, at least get an overview of what that tool is capable of doing, and do focus on other subjects, other products that you can score marks on. Like, selectors is another topic from which a lot of, I remember seeing quite a few questions from there. Licensing was another topic from where quite a lot of questions were there. So if you download the syllabus and click on each link, it takes you to the documentation related to it, and make sure you read them. Yeah. And in the UiPath Academy, go through the overview of all these products, and those tests at the end really help for each topic. And believe me, you need to spend some time on this before you go and take your certification. I did spend about a month, at least a month or two, to review and revisit everything in the UiPath ecosystem before I went and took the test. So my sincere suggestion to you all is, if you're serious about taking this certification, please do look at, it's not just the business analysis aspect that they are checking. They also want you to know the UiPath, entire UiPath platform as well. Not at a developer's level, but you should at least know what its capabilities are and what its tools and services and what we can do with the tool. Yeah. So I hope that kind of, we are over the top of the hour, I think, but I hope that explains what is expected.
Any questions? I think Juliet had a question. Juliet, if you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Namratha, for that presentation. It was wonderful when I had answered a lot of questions. My question is, what UiPath tools, to be specific, have added great value to your career as an automation business analyst?
See, what I generally do is, SAP in a way is what is something that I've worked extensively with till date. So SAP automations are, see, there is no enterprise setup anywhere on planet which doesn't have an ERP system, right? And when we talk ERP, SAP rules. So the majority of the automations I've come across are SAP. So I generally do focus a lot on understanding the SAP ecosystem, because what that transaction code means and what access issues come with it, and how, see, when the business user presents a use case to you, a process to you, they only know one way of accessing that data. But and the reason being that, that user is only allowed to access that particular data set through that particular method. Now, when we bring a non-human agent like a bot, multiple ways of accessing that data will open up to us. So as and when I was growing as a business analyst, my focus started shifting more and more towards SAP, because some of the most complex processes in finance, procurement, and all have something to do with these applications, right? So understanding SAP was something I started taking a lot of interest in, what those transaction codes are, how is data set up in SAP. So this is just a personal interest for me. And with more and more complex processes, I started feeling that we need, me as a business analyst, I am a human. There is a limit up to which I can analyze, processes and data that's provided to me. So naturally, I am gravitating today towards process mining as a tool, because I think when we combine, when we talk hyper automation, artificial intelligence, ML skill sets, bots, this length and breadth and scale at which this will be applied at an enterprise level, and for a BA to just sit alone and analyze it would be very difficult. So we need tools. So for me, personally, two things that I focus on is to understand how SAP works. Process mining is something that is a big area of interest for me. And I also take interest in seeing how IDP is evolving, that is intelligent document processing. So knowledge of how DU platform works, how AI center can be utilized, and how communications mining can be utilized is an area of interest for me, because I've seen use cases where all these things are required, right? So for me, these are things I am looking forward to go and specialize in the years to come. But process mining, as a business analyst, process mining is where I am personally focused on, right? So each of you will find your calling. When you start your journey in RPA, you will see what interests you, what is, where is your calling. RPA is a great place to start with in the automation landscape. And it kind of introduces you to enterprises and how companies work like no other way. Today you're working in finance, tomorrow you're working in sales, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, it's some project in procurement. And all of a sudden, when you start connecting the dots, it's a picture that emerges of where, where our data is sitting, how we're bringing everything together using bots, how that data can be further utilized for analysis and whatever it is that we want. right? So it's a great place to get started, Juliet. And how you define your journey will depend on your area of interest. But that's what I said. The ecosystem of UiPath is so vast now that you can go and explore and understand how these various tools can be used to your advantage. Yeah.
Thank you
I
so
hope that
much.
explains. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
I think the question Sridevi asked also aligns with what you have actually answered. Yet I would want Sridevi, if you can, unmute and you can ask question to Namratha.
No, it's just like will BA should know all the tools, or will RPA architect, a solution architect will give us the tools to be used? So that was my question.
Sridevi, this is knowledge for you, right? You go from being a business analyst to an exceptional BA when you're a techno-functional consultant, which is what you should aspire to be. So knowledge of tools and how it will be used is always something that comes to your aid. Where it will come to your aid is when you want to go and call yourself a senior business analyst, you should be in a techno-functional role. That is what I would say. So when you start off as initially as a junior business analyst, they will always have a tech lead or a solution architect to help you through this. So don't worry about it. We work as a team. Even though traditionally business analyst roles are considered as individual contributor kind of roles, in RPA 80% of the work is done by me independently, but the remaining 20% happens with help from other members in my team. It could be coming as the scrum master who facilitates in helping me understand how to get access to an application. I'm just giving you an example of a scenario. SAP is a field where getting access to certain transaction codes is an ordeal in itself. Believe me. Sometimes it's super easy. Sometimes you will learn how IT industry works. Sometimes by having to understand how to get access to that particular transaction code, right? And a Scrum Master is your best friend there in helping you navigate that space, or support teams, or sometimes the infra teams. So what tool to use to automate? If you are not sure of it, your best friend is your solution architect. Don't take that call on your own. But knowledge of you knowing that information is knowledge for you, right? And it comes in handy when you're doing the role of a process analyst, which is something that you will evolve sometime later on in your life, 2 to 3 years. And as a business analyst, that is natural progression where you would be going, where you would be sitting in the chair of a process analyst who decides what process will go into the automation pipeline from which department. And you are actually deciding whether it is a fit for automation, right? And it comes with experience. You will not be able to do that role without some kind of technical knowledge as well. So why do you need to know those tools when the solution architect is still present? Is for your personal growth. That's how I would put it. You don't have to always depend on others to see what fits in that particular scenario, but that information comes with time. So whenever required, do not hesitate to go to a solution architect or a technical lead, because technical solutions are generally not supposed to be given by a business analyst. That is the thumb rule. But knowledge is always powerful. It helps you grow in your career. So for me, it is essential that I know what tool I'm working in, how it is built, what is the background on it, how it functions. I generally get down to the details of it. If I'm going to talk about DU, I will still go to a solution architect for help, but I will also do my own digging to understand how that tool helps, because there are risks that I need to identify, right? So if I don't know what that tool is capable of doing, and I did not call out what risk might come out of it, then that's on me. So knowledge is powerful. So learn the tool. I hope that answers your question. But your best friend in this scenario is always your solution architect. The final call will always be made by the SA or your tech lead when it comes to technical aspects of the project. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Namratha.
Thanks for that, Sridevi. There is one question about the certification from Hendrik. Is there a stipulated time that they have to take, or as and when they are ready, they can take? And how many, I am adding on, how many years this certification is valid if they take? the ABA certification from UiPath?
Good question. My certification is valid for the next 2 years, if I'm not wrong.
Okay. So
It is 2 to 3
hopefully,
years, definitely minimum of 2 years.
okay. That was my question, but Hendrik was like, as in when they are ready, they can take the certification. There is no stipulated time frame for.
See, check the website, because when I took the certification, it was newly announced and it was run on a promotion basis where there was a 50% off on it, and I had to finish it within 3 months.
Okay.
Okay, so I was on a speed track. So when you need to check the website, because they might change the policies. So make sure when you're when you're deciding to take the certification and you want to go and pay up the money, make sure what is written at that point in time when you pay for the certification exam is what will apply. It might be 1 year, or it might be 3 months, 6 months, whatever. But please pay attention as to what is written at that point in time when you're buying the certification thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Hendrik, hope that clears your question there.
I think Praharsha has a question.
Yeah, Praharsha has raised the hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
Praharsha.
Hi, I hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Praharsha. Tell me.
So my question is, in what type of project will the business analyst will be having the main role?
Anything in RPA, okay? Anything related to RPA that comes for, let's say, any business process that comes up for automation, generally will have a business analyst involved. Because the first step where the assessment or whether this process can be automated is always going to have a business analyst involved who will take that call. And we will always be helped by solution architects. All right.
Okay.
So a BA is always involved in this process. Now, there is a second aspect to your question. Now, sometimes some center of excellences might not start with BAs. They would just bring in a highly qualified solution architect or a tech lead who has knowledge of business analysis and is also a highly skilled technical resource. So they can do both these roles.
Yeah.
So that is so
Okay.
anything that is about to get automated, most of the time a business analyst is involved in the process. If not, it is going to be a very, very highly experienced technical resource who can do business analysis who will be involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So I think we are at the end of this. Any other questions? The aspiring.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, Mercy. Hi.
Hi, Mercy.
Hey, good morning from the US.
Good morning.
I've been having this question. I started off learning about BA when everything was not as automated as it is today. The tools were not as automated. So we were in that phase where you meet with the SMEs with all the challenges, and that's what we were learning about. And I've been wondering, is there a risk that a BA can be, like pushed out of the whole process when a developer can use the automated tools to get to gather requirements themselves instead of a BA? I don't know.
Yes, Mercy. So to answer your question, there are 2 ways generally RPA projects would be done. So you would have a senior RPA consultant who can do this role, but this is going to be a role where they will be expected to do the role of a BA and also develop the code. So you are doing requirement gathering. This individual would be doing requirement gathering. They will be doing analysis, assessment, risk assessment. Everything has to be done. Post which the process definition document will also have to be created by this individual developer, and they will also have to create the SDD, get the sign-offs, develop the bot, go through all the rigors of governance-related documents, and a lot of times this is a senior role, Mercy. So there are cases where I've seen where these projects are completely owned by the senior RPA consultant, or it is a developer who works with the help of a solution architect or a tech lead. But in both cases, somebody in this team has to have the experience of doing business analysis and development as well. Somebody has to help you, or you yourself should have that capability. All right, that is one field where developers can see. That is also another question I think that will come up. If a developer wanted to move into exclusively into a senior BA kind of a role, this is the way you can go there. You can work as a developer, learn the nuances of bot development, what goes wrong, how to fix it, what are the typical problems that come across. It's a very insider's view of things of how the bot is built, and business analysis is something that you can learn on the side and excel in that job, and probably decide to be a consultant, or you can go and become a senior RPA business analyst, right? So that is a scenario that we see a lot. A lot of startups prefer these kind of resources, to be honest with you, because it's cost cutting, right? And if you go with highly evolved center of excellences, RPA business analysts will always be around, and all these junior RPA business analysts, senior RPA business analysts, process analyst roles will all be there in highly evolved center of excellences. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes. So that's why I think a business analyst should have, I think, skills that cut across the whole RPA process. So because you're dealing with everyone in the whole of the COE, you need to understand everything about. So at some point, you're not like pushed out of the whole
No.
process. Yeah. So it's important for us to understand the whole process and what happened in the various other roles in the whole process.
Yes. Because
Mhm.
RPA
Thank you.
projects generally have a team. There is a team construct always. So it would help to know what your roles and responsibilities are. And don't worry about it, you're not going to get pushed out.
Thank you.
No problem.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, Prahasha.
Yep, sir. Yeah, I have another question. So, is there any particular type of role which will be able to take over the role of a business analyst?
I need a little context on what you're asking. What do you mean by a particular role to, or you want to understand how you can be a BA?
No, means any role that would means if the business analyst is not there, is there any particular role that will be able to take over the role of a business analyst?
Yeah, so
Like
that's
the
what I said.
solution.
So solution architects are generally BAs. A solution architect has to have the knowledge of a business analyst. They are generally people who are brilliant in understanding the technology, and they also understand how the business works as well, right? So
Yes.
they come with that kind of knowledge in the team. So your solution, but let me tell you, a solution architect will not do the BA's role in reality, because that is a really, really higher end role in
High
any
role,
BA.
yes.
Yep. So
Yes.
it might be a senior RPA consultant, or an RPA consultant role is where these two things will be combined together. And they will be expected to do the role. It's a great role to get into, believe me. It is going to be tough to pull off, but if you can pull it off, it's one of those really, really sought out of after roles. But it takes time to get there. So if you can't do it on day one, do not beat yourself up. It takes time to get there, because it's two very, very testing, trying jobs that you're combining together in one and trying to do it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Out of all us, I think Prahasha has a lot of time to, I think, nail it.
And that was a
Uh,
good question, actually.
yeah, very
Thank
well.
you for that. Yeah.
Yes. So actually, typically, I was waiting for someone else to ask this question. This was something that was going about in our group that we hold. This was a question where they are all practicing. Where do they practice? The academy has a limitation when it comes to process mining, task mining. So in those instances, how do they go? Because anything which is, enterprise, they can't practice. So how do they go about and practice such concepts like process mining? I think Shraddha was someone who had asked in our group. I don't see her here. So I'm pitching in and asking that question.
See, for process mining, I don't think we have even an enterprise trial edition at the moment, because even I've been trying to see how we can work with it. So how I generally handle something like this, since it's my area of interest, what I generally do is how I started, I'll tell you. I went on LinkedIn and put in process mining to check if there are any people who are working on it, right? So the more I started digging in, the more I started understanding that the process mining concepts related to process mining are, it has been around for quite some time, and there are some names associated with it. So I can give you one particular name of a person who's considered the godfather of process mining, right? So he runs different courses, and there are different things that he does. This person is a professor in a university in Germany. I can give you his name. You can Google him or find him on LinkedIn, and see what are the things he's offering. And even Googling it will give you information on how to uh, learn process mining. So for example, there are open source tools that you can use to just practice. So but they might not have all the capabilities of an enterprise edition tool, but it is just one aspect of how to learn, right? Related to task mining, again, I have professionally never worked on it, but what is available on UiPath in terms of training and things is a very, very good place to understand what to do with it. And what is given in the academy was good enough for me to take the questions in for the exam as well, right? So yeah, so let me see if I can tell you who this professor is. So I hope that answers your question. While I'll just get the name.
Hopefully, yeah. They will have to tell. So does that answer the question? I think Juliet was one of the persons along with Shraddha who asked that question. Yeah, does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
me too.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, it
Auntie,
helps.
yeah.
It helps a
So
actually,
lot.
you all asked, but you didn't
yeah,
ask to Narmada. Yeah, you were, yeah, cool.
Mhm.
Awesome.
yeah, the bit of process mining, yeah, we will appreciate if you share the name of the professor. What about communication mining? Because communication mining is something that we can't access.
Again, communication mining also doesn't have. I don't think it's still got a trial edition. You can do some kind of. I'm really not sure, Juliet. That's an area of interest for me, but I've not really started digging into it. But you will need to look out for information on the academy or forums to see when they are opening it up, because that a lot of people are actually interested in it. Believe me, there are so many use cases where something like that needs to be used. So on popular demand, it might come out sooner than later. So that's all I can say at the moment. But whatever overview sessions are available for communications mining and the academy is really good enough to clear your exam, because I was able to learn from there, understand what needs to be done with it, and I was also able to answer the questions in the what is it certification exam. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
no worries, friends.
Awesome. Yeah, just when you have a question, would you want to unmute and talk, or just when? How to prepare for interview? Any suggestions or YouTube videos which helped you for UiPath Business Analyst specifically?
So generally for the business analyst interviews, they typically go with till now whatever I have attended, their focus is on how good you are at process assessments, your business analysis skills, and your knowledge of the UiPath ecosystem also. Sometimes they do ask that. And other thing that comes up is, in my case, since I have quite a bit of experience, my interviews always have use cases that are thrown at me. So I am judged on the basis of how I analyze a use case or multiple use cases or case studies that are provided to me. So at my level, that is expected, anticipated. Yeah. So what I generally do is from YouTube, what I generally go and check out are videos related to general business analysis. In conflicting scenarios, what do we do? What kind of tools are available? When do we use a RACI matrix? What is the importance of an analysis process? What is the importance of a to-be process? Do both need to be there in a document? These are the kind of questions which are very generic, and it's something that any BA has to handle, irrespective of whether you specialize in RPA or not. Right? So those are general questions you should be able to understand and answer, and lots of YouTube videos on that. For the UiPath business analyst, I would say use cases. Look into use cases. If you're going to a certain company, do some research on them. Understand what kind of use cases might typically come up for automation, and that is how I would start, and try and relate to what tools are available in the UiPath ecosystem that can help in solving those business problems or those use cases that you've found online, right? So that's how I work towards preparing for an interview.
Okay, I think we are over and above the time frame. We actually quite a good session. Lastly, we'll take Prahasha's one question here. Yeah, Prahasha.
Yeah, you could just consider this as an add-on for the last question which you had. So, what is a interview question which every one of the BA would face in every one of the interviews?
Okay, I have to think this through before I ask, or before I answer it. See, one pertinent question that comes up is, how do you handle conflict resolution? Because the BA's role, we have data, we have technology, we have n number of things going on when we do process assessments. But the most important aspect of our job is dealing with people. We have stakeholders, right? We have people who are directors,
Yes.
we have people who are end users, we have a range of people we are dealing with. Then there is the IT team. So how do you handle conflicts? It's a big question that comes to you as an RPA business analyst, because bots, generally people are scared of automation. All right. So everybody is scared that automation is, they all have their apprehensions. And sometimes that is where the problems also come. So how do you resolve that problem? How do you clear the doubts? How do you resolve, how do you gauge that an issue is going to come up and take care of it before it happens? These are all aspects, important aspects of being a business analyst. And this is one question that is always asked to me. How do you handle it? How do you handle issues between, sometimes what the business analyst is saying might not be something that the technical team will agree with. Okay. Sometimes what the technical team is saying, I might not agree with it, because the business user has a different kind of an expectation. Sometimes what the business stakeholder is saying might not be in agreement with me or the technical team at all. So these are like literally scenarios which needs to be handled very, very carefully. We don't want fights happening. We need to have things, consensus, where like what we are saying is, everybody has to come to a page. We need to find a middle path, figure out a way to move forward. And BAs are generally the people who sit in the middle and do that, that role of easing the path to getting the work done. So we are always enablers in a project. So the word I would use is enablers. When you say conflict resolution, I always say I'm the enabler, and I try and be a liaison between everyone, get the information required, to diffuse the situation. If not, we ask for help. We have to go and ask for help from other people, from senior leadership teams.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Hey, yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Namrata. It was wonderful session. I can't agree more. I think these people, no, they are not present in the no video. Only Henrik I'm seeing. I'm going to ask Henrik, how was the session, Henrik, for you today?
Okay, let me unmute.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
you just typed.
Hi,
Yeah.
Henrik.
yes,
First of all,
yes.
where are you from, Henrik?
I'm from South Africa.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah, yeah. It actually brought in a clarity, and because at times you know about all these tools, process mining, but you're not too sure how it fits in a real company. You learn about about SAP, and you can't really connect what you're studying to be studying for certification to be a business analyst, how it connects to companies, for example, with using SAP ERP. So today just brought in a lot of clarity and connection, and then the steps that you took us through from the beginning to the end, and then just to show us how your day is like. I think that's for me, it was worth the time that we spent here on the Zoom
Thank you
call.
so much. Thank you so much. It was helpful, Henrik. That's
Yeah.
Thanks
appreciated.
for that. Thanks for that, Henrik. Why I call Henrik? Because I believe he was in my first session, October 16th session last year. And I
That's
think
right.
he was a BA. He's a BA, I think, business analyst, non-technical, and trying to come into the IT space. That's what I kind of got from Henrik. So hopefully, all the best to you in going forward with that automation into this BA.
Not really. I'm not a BA yet.
Oh, you're not a BA, okay?
But thanks for the confidence.
I wasn't a BA first, Henrik, so don't worry about it. I evolved into that role.
Oh, okay, awesome. So he was in one of my first sessions, so he's there in here also. So I thought I'll pull him out and ask that. Okay, thanks for that. Thank you, Namrata. It is like, I don't know how to thank you. I think a lot of no hanging things were there where they were not able to correlate and put together completely. I think you brought in that picture, an aspect of putting that together and how UiPath would fit into in the BA role as such. That's what I got from, I'm completely non-technical, and what I'm getting from your session. Thank you for this time and wonderful session that we had with you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Revati. Thank you for having me. And as always, happy to contribute to the community.
Yeah,
Right?
I know
So,
that. I know. You're an integral part of us. Thank you all for coming. Yeah. And making the session a wonderful session. Yeah. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Good day
Bye-bye.
to you.
Have a nice
Thank you.
day. Nice
Okay,
day.
thanks. Bye.
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 Thank you.